Welcome to a deep dive into today's hottest topic, the ban on TikTok. What's happened, what's at stake, and what does it mean for the TikTok user base in America and the country overall? Now, it might sound boring, but let's start with a little history lesson. So TikTok was formed in 2016 and became popular in the years after, but its legal challenges really began in 2020. That year, during the presidential election cycle, then President Trump actually declared a national emergency and attempted to ban TikTok, leading to a lawsuit, TikTok versus Trump. This later evolved into TikTok versus Biden, and it was part of all of the challenges that TikTok has seen. The ban didn't succeed. Fast forward to 2023, and as the presidential election cycle heats up, Republican candidates like Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley clash over TikTok's future, and it becomes a significant talking point.
Sin is to say that you're preaching sanctimoniously to the rest of the nation while your own family. And it's not a sin to be on TikTok. It's an example of the fact that young people across this country are using that platform. I mean, that's the hard truth. So you have the Republican Party that's asleep at the switch. This establishment in the Republican Party has lost its mind. I'm sick and tired of it. That's what's created this culture of losing.
You go, Vivek.
Politicians were just vessels for that establishment.
Go, girl.
A mega donor class that thinks they can wield
You tell them.
like puppets.
Tell them, Vivek.
Corruption in both parties.
True.
And I think it deserves to be called out.
So that was months ago. Vivek has now fallen out of the race and endorsed Trump. I don't know why. But he has some good points. And I don't agree with him fully. I don't agree with Nikki Haley fully on the whole TikTok debate. But we're going to continue diving into it. And actually, in late 2023, the state of Montana actually banned TikTok as well. That was also shut down in federal appeals court. But this issue isn't just a matter of data privacy. It's about free speech, the media's influence over our thinking, foreign influence of the media, even international business policies, and a lot more. So TikTok is not actually a Chinese company. It's an American and foreign company with headquarters in Los Angeles and Singapore, and incorporated in the popular rich corporation tax haven of the Cayman Islands. If you think back to the Panama Papers of 2016 and think of the Cayman Islands, it's pretty much as if its owners knew that the algorithm and app would be so widely successful in the United States, they prepared their international corporate structure to be ready for massive financial success here to reduce their taxes. Now, TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is indeed a Chinese company. And while ByteDance doesn't directly control TikTok, it is a Chinese company that makes the algorithm and makes the accompanying Chinese social media app Douyin. So the real concern here is Chinese influence or control over TikTok and its associated data. Now, I mentioned the algorithm, and that's the last bit of the history lesson here. For those who don't know what an algorithm is, it's more than just a mathematical formula from high school days. Think of the algorithm as the secret sauce, the recipe that TikTok uses to decide which videos to show you and in which order. Whether you're a seasoned user of the app watching this today, or whether you're a brand new user opening the app for your new account for the first time, based on what you like, based on what you stay on, based on what you interact with, whether you're watching a video for 0.2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it is, all of those things are taken into account to feed you more targeted content in your appropriate feed. It uses that to decide what content it thinks you'll find engaging, keeping your feed filled with videos tailored to your taste. Now, if you heard a lot of marketing buzzwords in that, feed, tastes, content, direct, all of this are fun marketing ways to say, we want you addicted to the app, right? There's all these competing social media apps, we want you addicted to ours. But the goal of TikTok is the same as Google Ads, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, whatever, even traditional media like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. The goal is to keep your limited hours in the day and the limited hours you're consuming media on their platform. TikTok is simply the best at getting people most addicted to this. Moving on. The crux of the debate here centers around TikTok's Chinese connections. The fear is that TikTok, via ByteDance, could be compelled to hand over US customer data to the Chinese government. And that's probably a rational fear, and the current bill passed is sort of no surprise to anybody, because it was inserted into a military aid package, with the TikTok's ban insertion as a little bit of an afterthought. But as expected, TikTok will fight this upcoming sell or be banned law in court, and it might be upheld or it might be nullified and overturned. Also, the Chinese government has given suggestions or statements that they'll exit TikTok from the US rather than be forced to sell. The Chinese government considers its algorithms in the country to be a matter of national security and national importance. So the major supposed concern here is Chinese access to US user data. But the Chinese government likely already has treasure troves of information on US citizens, from routers, smart bulbs, smartwatches, and dozens of other products and services that we use daily. Could the Chinese government force ByteDance and TikTok to hand over US data? Yeah, probably. But TikTok's user data on Americans probably wouldn't be worth the geopolitical conflict between the two countries. I'm not defending TikTok. I'm not defending the Chinese government here. But I'm just noting that it doesn't really seem like a legitimate national security concern. The real major concern is that the Chinese government could push certain content to American users, influencing the cultural narrative, our thinking, and influencing our elections. That's a much more legitimate concern than the Chinese government accessing US data on Americans. So maybe TikTok is really just the scapegoat here, the biggest player, and because of its foreign connections, it's the easiest to attack. Because if we consider the influence of other media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Google, Truth Social, X, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC News, whatever, their employees, their CEOs, their investors, even their friends and family and other connections, they're all influencing the audiences of those respective media outlets too. So we have to ask ourselves, can we really disconnect our concerns over all social media and all media in general and focus just on our concerns specific to TikTok? And really the only one specific concern here is TikTok's foreign influence and ties. But if we're really going to ban TikTok or force them to leave because of this foreign influence, we need to really consider, and this is critical, we need to consider the wider implications of forcing TikTok to sell or leave. If a foreign owner is forced to sell to a US owner, it sets an interesting international precedent. Let's imagine if other governments forced US companies like Facebook, Google, General Motors, Intel, McDonald's, whatever, to divest their corporation in that country to local foreign companies. The consequences of that could reshape global business practices. And I would actually argue that this ban and this way of thinking only heightens the tension between nations, which is exactly the opposite of what's needed today at a global scale. And it's exactly the opposite of what this campaign is trying to do. There are so many questions here. How much control does the Chinese government really have over TikTok's algorithm and insertion of media? How much influence does either government really have over the media? One underlying question I don't see discussed is, if we did nothing here as a government, would TikTok continue to grow and eat up the world? Will the Chinese control our media? And I think the obvious answer, as with anything in technology, is that eventually there's going to be a more popular, better mobile app, a better algorithm, a better product or service that makes all of this obsolete. This happens very quickly in technology, and this whole discussion might be moot. But this ties into our campaign, which is about the debate and the discussion itself, which comes along with writing constitutional amendments. So the positives here, and there are some, the positives here are that whatever way this plays out, at least this is getting younger people engaged and involved, and it gets all Americans thinking about and discussing foreign influence over media outlets, in addition to the other topics here. And I am absolutely confident that our campaign team will continue to monitor the TikTok situation. We'll continue to watch this issue, and if it appears most ethical to pause or stop our use of TikTok, we will do that, either temporarily or permanently. But as it is right now, the Fial Forward campaign will continue to use TikTok like any other platform. If you want to see an independent president bring both major political parties together to renew and update the Constitution, the First Amendment, debate legislation on these major technologies, and more, join us today. Donate to our campaign, engage, comment, share with everyone you know, and participate in the decision-making process by discussing, staying informed, and voting.